Pacers crushed again, this time by the Heat in Miami. This one felt different. The first 35 minutes were good and fun and competitive, and the last 13 were just an awful showing of Pacers basketball. How many turnovers did they have? What even just happened? We'll try to break it down today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday/weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and Circle City Spin, and today, oh boy, good 35 minutes for the Pacers. They're winning 94-92. Things look great. Siakam's cooking. Mathurin's warming up. Nembhard has how many assists? Look at the Pacers go. And the last 13 minutes were maybe the worst 13 minutes they've had this season, particularly on defense. The Celtics just 2 days prior, 1 day prior, certainly have something to say about that. 50 points for the Heat in the final 13 minutes of this game as the Pacers end up losing a game they were winning with 1 minute to go in the third quarter by 26 points. 142-116. The Heat, again, scoring 50 points at that point. A great start for the Pacers, right? They were up 94-92 at that moment, and were playing pretty well, doing some good stuff. Pascal Siakam looked kind of unguardable. Andrew Nembhard had 10 assists at halftime. He had some ugly turnovers and only shot 7 for 17, but was pretty good in the second half scoring. And Ben Mathurin came alive, 25 points, 6 boards. He looked more Mathurin-y in the second half especially. And the Pacers still got crushed. 2 reasons. I mean, copy pastes how many podcasts that I've done about this team this season, and especially the last couple weeks, where a lot of the game is good and their worst stretch is just so unbelievably, pathetically terrible. 94-92. I already said it, but to be more specific, with 1 minute to go in the third quarter, things look good. This game was fun and competitive, and the Pacers had some juices flowing at that point. Siakam had just finished an and one for Nembhard's 14th assist to take that lead. Jaime Jaquez scores with 55 seconds left in the third quarter. Andrew Wiggins scores with 32 seconds left in the third quarter. Jaime Jaquez again just before the buzzer of the third quarter. And then it was just an absolute disaster of a fourth. I mean, just a disaster in every way. Pacers scored 22, which is bad. That's already pretty low for NBA standards, incredibly low for NBA standards. And 13 of them were Ben Mathurin, who was good in that quarter. 9 points on 4 of 18 shooting for the rest of the Pacers in the fourth. 0 for 7 for 3 from the rest of the Pacers in the fourth. 7 turnovers, 6 of them coming from non-Mathurin players in the fourth. If not for Mathurin, that fourth quarter would have looked even worse than it actually did. The Heat in the fourth quarter scored 44 points, the third time in 7 days. The Pacers have allowed 44-plus points in a quarter. In New Orleans in the first quarter, against the Celtics in the second quarter, and in the Heat in this fourth quarter. Third time in a week, really 8 days, but a week-ish, whatever. 10 points for Jovic, and then a bunch of 5-plus guys. Everybody was scoring. Drew Smith scored 5 points. Jaime Jaquez scored 5 points. Norman Powell scored 5 points. Andrew Wiggins scored 7 points. Pelle Larsson scored 6 points. It was so easy. 18 made shots in the quarter for the Heat. 4 threes, 4 foul shots. Just an absolute mess by the Pacers. And this has happened to them all season, where their worst stretches are so comically bad that they have no chance of winning, even when they play well the rest of the game. And lo and behold, that happened again. I've done this a million times. 30 plus minutes of the game, the Pacers were better than the other team. The minutes they were not better than the other team, they were so much worse that they lost. And in this game, the signs were there that their defense wasn't good anyway. Right? The Heat were getting better and better throughout the night offensively. 29 first quarter points, 30 in the second, 39 in the third, 44 in the fourth. And that's all great. Like, they had a lot of guys play well. The Pacers really struggled with Jaime Jaquez. He was amazing. He had 28 points on 11 made shots. His kind of skill set, tougher bully in the paint with size kind of guy who has this tricky little fadeaway. Siakam can guard that kind of player. That's kind of it for the Pacers. My cat is probably going to make an appearance in this episode. He is having a terrible time in the room with me right now as he climbs up on the back of the chair. Hello, everybody. You can meet Winston now. He really wanted to talk about the Pacers' terrible defense on Jaime Jaquez, which they couldn't stop him. He'd get in the lane, he'd score. He had 3 assists. He had 28 points. Norman Powell, downhill driver like he's been all season. He didn't shoot it particularly well, but he got to the line for 8 free throw attempts. He had 23 points. Andrew Wiggins had 12 made shots, another forward that the Pacers just really could not defend in this game. My cat is now trying to knock over a Reggie Miller bobblehead I'm using as a prop for this episode. So it was just a mess defensively. Khalil Ware early in this game was scoring easily. Nikola Jovic kept wiggling free, like everybody on the Heat. And the game was played, even when the Pacers were playing pretty well, I thought, at the Heat's pace. They are first in the league in pace. They fly up and down the court. They take the first open shot they get, just rapid, as quick as it gets. And that the game was flying up and down, and the Pacers are a fast team. They have been historically, but not as much this season, whereas Miami almost always is. And when they kind of settled into that pace, they kept getting better and better and better. The defense was never good enough. And once the defense went away completely from just like pretty bad to horrible, they had no chance. And they just got completely obliterated for the rest of the game. So that was a big part of this, is the just complete evaporation of the defense in this game for the Pacers late, and the Heat just scoring and scoring and scoring. But we've seen this. We've seen that aspect of a poor Pacers game recently, where they just cannot guard the other team at all. What made this game different to me is, one, they were much more competitive leading up to that moment of the game. And the other part is the turnovers. Historic. Well, maybe not historic, but pretty close to historic levels of bad turnovers for the Pacers. And this was, the defense went from bad to worse. The turnovers were something that was a foreseeable problem that was happening throughout the entire game. So to wrap it up, in total, the Pacers finished with 26 turnovers. A team turnover got added after I did the research. The last time they had 26 or more turnovers was against the Hawks in April of 2012. Before that, they hadn't had 26 turnovers since 2013. In April of 2013. I have to redo my query because I thought they finished with 25 turnovers, but one got added as a team turnover. I don't know what that was. Okay, 26 turnover games for the Pacers. This is the 10th one this century, the first one since Carlisle became head coach, and just the third since 2010. It is very rare to have this many turnovers, and even rarer to win. In franchise history, the Pacers have had 26 or more turnovers in a game, exactly 100 times entering this game, so 101 now. They have won 38 of those games. It's actually more than I expected, but obviously that's a 1-3 record. That's not very good. So many. And you have to be very sharp at a lot of stuff if you're going to make up for that kind of game. The Pacers also lost the rebounding battle, by the way. So the possession game just dominated by the Heat. The Heat take 14 more shots and 5 more free throws in this game, right? Like, they were everywhere in terms of getting more possessions. Obviously, that's a problem. The rebounding was close enough that it's not a huge deal, but 26-10 in turnovers is like insurmountable, especially in a game where the Heat's half-court offense was already better. Points off turnovers, the Heat won this game by 26. It was 19-38 in points off turnovers. That's almost the entire deficit. Not quite, but almost the entire deficit. It was just a mess how much the Pacers turned it over, and this has very, very rarely been this frequent. Again, this was just the second time since Carlisle got rehired. I mean, in 2013, some of the players from the Pacers were like 7 years old, right? It's been forever since they've done this prior to last year. That's how bad their turnover marks were in this game. A lot of guys contributing to that. For all the good stuff I will mention about Mathurin's game, he had 5 turnovers. I'll talk about the specifics of some of these in a while. For all the good things I'm going to say about Siakam's game, he had 5 turnovers. Nembhard was passing like crazy. He had 3. Jarris Walker had 3. Quentin Jackson, he had 3. Ethan Thompson had 3. And it just keeps getting higher and higher. And the numbers stack up to 26. And here's the signs that it was going to happen early. The Pacers were being, I thought, the right level of aggressive, trying to do their thing, get shots they like, but they were really forcing some things that were maybe not unnatural, but just like with a speed that they rarely go to. Early, Ben Mathurin's coming. He sees Siakam posting up. Okay, good. This is a game Pascal Siakam's been balling. I'll talk about that later. Get the ball to him. Instead of waiting for Siakam to turn and seal his defender, who was smaller than him, Mathurin threw it too early, and it was not accurate, out of bounds. Jarris Walker in transition, same thing. He sees, I believe it was Jay Huff with a post-up, a potential pass into the paint, got to bounce it to him, bounces out of bounds. 2 just horrible passes. Another, Johnny Furphy, in the second quarter, entry passes there, turns, looks, and turnover. Like, they could not get the ball into the post, and they were doing well, points in the paint-wise tonight. 56 for the Pacers in this game. They gave up 78. Yikes, they could not keep any Heat player out of the paint. But they were doing well to attack matchups in the paint, I thought, for a lot of this game, but they could not get the ball in there, right? So very clearly having some disconnection issues early, and I even put after the first quarter. The Pacers, in the first quarter, they were winning, or winning for some of the first quarter. It was 29-28 Heat after one. My notes say this: very good first quarter, 11 for 15 on twos. If they clean up offensive rebounds, the Heat have 6 already, and turnovers, the Pacers have 6 already, they can win this game. Guess what? They did not clean up the turnovers, and they only kind of clean up the offensive rebounds, 11 for the Heat the rest of the game. So the possession battle just sunk them. So the defense and one terrible stretch of defense, that is something that this Pacers team has shown quite often this season, really often recently, as they've slid back on that end of the floor. The turnovers, however, are not something this team has had a problem with this season. Just their third game over 20 all season. They go all the way up to 26, 8 more than their previous third worst game this season, right? For all the things the Pacers have struggled with this year, of which there are many, they have the NBA's worst offensive rating, right? They have the 5th fewest turnovers per game. That is one of their few strengths, is that they are capable of doing that. They did not do that at all in this game. And a lot of guys with some head scratchers. I mean, Quentin Jackson had one. I would say this was like the summary of the game, where he threw it to Tony Bradley in the backcourt when he just did not need to do that. Tony Bradley should not be taking it up. You don't need to give the ball to him in that situation, period. Just be a little more patient. He came out of the game. They put in Andrew Nembhard. They show Rick Carlisle talking to Quentin Jackson, presumably to say, hey, don't do that. And I assume Quentin Jackson's like, hey, here's why I did that. And then they put Quentin Jackson right back in the game. And like, that was the summary of this game. Just like, why did you do that kind of turnovers that are atypical for this team this season? That was different than some of their previous losses. And that kind of stuff just kept happening all game. We'll talk about Quentin Jackson, but this was very much a like, oh boy, game for him at point guard, which was a problem because TJ McConnell didn't play. McConnell wasn't playing. Jackson wasn't playing. But they got Aaron Nesmith back. And the big three were all pretty good. A lot of positives in a blowout. So much to get to coming up still from Pacers Heat down in Miami. Coming up here on Locked On Pacers. But first, everybody, got to talk to you about FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better every Friday night. Before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with their NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern. Appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new. Boosts, bonuses, surprises. You can check the weekly special before tip-off and make the move before the window closes. The timing is perfect. It's right before the games. It's right before your weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app. See what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That is NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sports book partner of the NBA. We're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day or second listen. Locked On Heat. They do credit cookies when the Heat win. The Heat have 2 wins in a row now on their back-to-back without Bam and Tyler Hero. For this one, not only are the Pacers 6-26, which is the worst record in the NBA, they've actually ducked quite a few good players along the way and still can't get it done. This game will be remembered poorly. Rightly, the score is how games should be remembered. People will look back on this game and go, oh, the Pacers got blown out. And they did. They got blown out. That's factual to say. This game was very close for a long time, and they imploded, and they deserve to be ridiculed for the implosion. But there was actually a lot of good stuff that happened for 3 quarters or whatever you want to say of this game that they would go, yeah, that's what, if we're the Pacers, we hope we look like more often this season. That obviously has not happened with any sort of frequency or consistency, but it started early in this game with Pascal Siakam, who the Celtics, if you'll recall, or you read my post-game story, we're like, oh, Siakam has the ball. We're going to put all 5 of our defenders pretty much in the paint. We're not going to let him have any room to do anything at all. And the Heat were like, no, that's not how we defend. We're going to switch. And so in the first play, you can see what happens. Siakam gets it in the post on the right block, and he's kind of waiting to see how the Heat are going to defend him. And he waits for a second, He hits Ben Mathurin on a cut. I think Mathurin missed a shot that was a good shot. It was a good play by Mathurin and Siakam. But he realized then how he was going to be defended. And I even put in my notes, my second note of the game might be a Siakam game with single coverage. And the Heat start switching everything on these early possessions, and Pascal was like, sweet, this looks easy. And he just completely cooked the Heat for most of the first half and a lot of the game. He finishes with over 30 points, as my cat has knocked something over. He finished with over 30 points in this game. He had 24 in the first half on 10 for 13 shooting. He made 4 threes. And no matter who the Heat put on him, he could score. Starting possessions, there was a lot of Andrew Wiggins or Pell Larson, but switching, no problem. Norm Powell ends up on him a lot. He goes right away. Davion Mitchell's too small. Mitchell got hurt and didn't play a ton in the first half. Khalil Ware, good player, not ready for the crafty vet, as has been a problem for many a young player against Pascal Siakam. He just cooked these switches. Norm Powell had nothing going. The only thing that slowed down Siakam really was his own foul trouble, but it was a lovely first half. And he even went on a heater in kind of like the mid-late second quarter. And Pascal Siakam heaters are a blast because he can just score in so many ways that, especially when he's seeing different coverages like that throughout a half, he's going to hit a three here. He's going to hit a mid-range there. He's going to get to the cup running. He had 33 points this game on one made free throw. He made 14 shots and 4 threes. The first half, he had 10 made shots and 4 made threes for 24 points. He was +9. He was just awesome. Just awesome. In the first half of this game, the Heat right away, you could see as the second half starts, Caitlin Cooper tweeted this, she was on it, but the second half starts, Siakam's first touch is a little deeper out to the right, kind of on the baseline. And with Siakam already at 24 points, they double him. On his first touch, he gets it out right away. Then Martin hits a jumper. And then, that's kind of how his first stint goes. The Pacers are finding other ways to score with their guards. Then when the bench was on the floor and Siakam came in for his second stint of the second half, the Heat went zone. Caitlin Cooper was all over that. And it was kind of effective. I think it slowed down Siakam specifically. The rest of the Pacers were fine at getting shots when he was on the floor, but those minutes were much worse for the Pacers in the second half. Siakam's minutes was a -23. That's obviously not on him. He was great and had a ton of gravity, but the game really flipped for him when the Heat were like, yeah, we're going to defend you differently. So he showed why he's so veteran and why he's savvy. He can do a lot of good things and he can break down a lot of coverages, but when the Heat switched it up and made other guys beat him, Nembhard was good, Mathurin was good, nobody else really got it going. Let's talk about those two guys, by the way. Nembhard had a crazy game passing the ball. He had one pass to, I believe, Micah Potter cutting down the lane where he threw it around his man and it bounced between two defenders to get into Potter's hands to finish in the lane. That was a gorgeous pass. And I was like, let me check how many assists he has. It was like the middle second quarter. He already had 8 or 9. It was extremely impressive what he was doing at that moment. He had 10 at halftime. I probably should already know if 16 assists is his career high. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm almost certain that it is. And now that I say that, it's not going to be. But his passing was sublime in this game. It is 15 his rookie year was his previous career high. I do not remember that game for some reason. But he was slinging the ball in the first half. And that was one of the few things the Pacers offense had going is they had not one of the few things. They had many things going. One of the few things that was impressive about their first half is they haven't had that kind of setup play, especially without McConnell this year. 10 assists, 0 turnovers in the first half for Andrew Nembhard, who couldn't make anything. He missed all 5 of his threes and was 1 for 9 from the field. Then in the second half, he has 13 points. He goes 6 for 8. He has 6 assists, but 3 turnovers was challenging for him. So he found his shot in the second half. It ends up being an excellent 15-point, 16-assist game for him. But it took him 17 shots to get there. He's got to make jumpers with more consistency. All in all, though, a good game for Andrew Nembhard. So Siakam, good. Nembhard, good. Mathurin starts slow, right? First half for him was more about his defense and little things. He continues to be good on the glass to me, but he had 3 turnovers in the first half, just 2 points on 1 for 5 at halftime. And you think, uh-oh, can he get going? What's it going to take? How's this going to look? Second half, Ben Mathurin. I haven't seen this version of Ben Mathurin in a while. It was a blast to see it again. 23 points in the second half, 8 for 11. He made 3 threes. He had 3 rebounds. He had 2 steals. Kept his turnovers down. He was way, way, way better in the second half. He came alive in the way that he hadn't in a while, and the Heat had no answers for him. So those 3 guys were all great, right? A lot of times when that happens for the Pacers and they get good play from all of the trio, the good things happen for them. Man, Winston really wants to be in this podcast. A lot of times when that happens, they have a good game. They win. That happened in Chicago on their only road win of the season. And the combined stat line for these guys, 33 for Siakam, 15 for Nembhard, 25 for Mathurin. That's 73 points, 16 rebounds, and 23 assists. That's awesome. That should lead to a solid result for this team. And it just didn't. They got nothing from a lot of the rest of the team. Their next highest scorer was Jay Huff with 11, who Huff had a lot of his own problems in this game. We'll get to him in just a second. Right, that was a concern. Man, Winston is going to knock over my camera. You guys don't care about this cat commentary. I'm trying to talk myself through these struggles that I'm having with the recording. But no one else even reached double figures outside of Huff. And they had some good rebounding from other guys, but the turnovers made it so they had fewer possessions with those guys. Their defense completely fell apart. I mean, of all the games to get a terrific night from a trio, this was a tough one to do it because their problems were so poor in a way that you can't overcome a good game from 3 players. Lots of other guys to get to and talk about. Another game where they closed without a center. This is the third time in a week they've done this. I get that Jackson is hurt, but to not close with Huff or Bradley or, I guess Potter's been on the team for 2 games, but very revealing they closed with Jarris Walker in this one when they made kind of one final push with a bunch of their starters on the floor. I get why they did it. Their centers were not giving them very much in this game, but still revealing how often they continue to do that, showing their trust in their current center rotation as they figure out what the long-term future of that position is. It's very clear that a lot of those guys are not necessarily trusted for any sort of important moment or big minutes for this team at this time. And that kind of gets me to Huff, who had a really strange game. 2 reverse dunks, I think 3 actually, in the first half of this game. His rim pressure was very good. He took 5 twos. He took more 2s than 3s. That's generally a good sign for him. 3 blocks. Like, if you just looked at his stat line, they won his minutes by 5, you might think J. Huff had a good game. But he was just really weird. He really struggled guarding Khalil Ware for much of this game, especially in the first half. And it was like all or nothing kind of stuff, right? He would either get in the play and blow up a lob and it looked awesome and he got up, or just like completely losing Ware or being completely out of position for a rebound. I actually mostly thought it was poor, but as I was typing it, he would like blow up a few plays. So the complete all or nothing nature of that was really strange. And then Bradley played for like 11 minutes and had some rebounds, but was fouling too much. And Potter has been like mostly solid, but he struggled to actually make shots in this game. So just not enough from the 5 spot. Potter just does fine stuff. He's been on the team for 3 days, but they just need more from every center. And Huff had a weird one. Jarris Walker I already mentioned his bounce pass turnover. Also when Tony Bradley was in, the Pacers rebounding was just not good. Like if he's on the floor and the rebounding isn't good, it's not enough from him. 2 more guys that had poor nights before we close with some positives. Jarris Walker, I mentioned his bad bounce pass turnover. He had one where he was dribbling on the left wing and tried to attack Norm Powell and just got completely stripped. And it was just, man, like he has got to have more self-creation than that. 1 shot attempt for Jarris Walker in this game. I'm not even necessarily saying that he did anything wrong to have that be the case, but it just looks crazy to see him take 1 shot in a game where he played over 20 minutes. Quentin Jackson, this is his 2nd straight game where ball handling and creation responsibilities have been a little much, right? All offseason I said, even though I like Quentin Jackson, I think he's good. I get the talk about him getting a standard deal, why that would make good sense. I said I still think the Pacers should sign a steady point guard because Quentin Jackson is more of a combo guard to me. He's very good at playing with another point guard. In this game, TJ McConnell was out, and they said, Quentin Jackson, you're the backup point guard. And he had 3 turnovers, many of them that were extremely ugly. He couldn't really create his own shots to the extent he needed to. 4 points on 3 shots and 3 turnovers. He was minus 16 in this game. 2 other things from this game that were better. Johnny Furphy started for the first time of his career, kind of an earned role, honestly. I still think this is rich to say after I just said he had a poor game. I would be starting Quentin Jackson until, spoiler alert, I said until Aaron Nesmith comes back. Maybe I should say until Aaron Nesmith is starting again because Nesmith did not start. Quentin Jackson did not start. Johnny Furphy did. He got an early offensive rebound. He's just such a nose for the ball player on the perimeter. 7 rebounds for Johnny Furphy. That was tied for first on the entire team. 9 points on 6 shots. He was 4 for 6 from the field. A super aggressive in transition drive for an and one. I don't even know that I necessarily think everything is like clicking for Johnny Furphy yet, or if he even has like all this sort of power for an extra shooting, and he still looks good. I can't wait to see what he grows into with more time, because you can just see all these little things that he's got in a way that will make him a good player if it all clicks or the game slows down for him at some point. But he is effective and fearless and plays bigger than his size, and it's just a delight to watch. Last thing, of course, this gets completely buried in the game because I wanted to do the whole notebook and talk about the big 3 and what went wrong for the Pacers. Aaron Nesmith is back. All right. Pacers could use that. This was the 2nd time this entire season that Nembhard, Nesmith, Siakam, and Mathurin have all played in a game together. How crazy is that? In the preseason, that was a big source of optimism, was that those 4 looked good on the floor at the same time. Nesmith does not start in this game, so tougher to have analysis, but he made 3 out of his 8 3-pointers. He had 5 rebounds. He had 2 blocks. They got smoked in his minutes. I do not even think that was necessarily related to Aaron Nesmith. He came in the game and immediately it was the best defensive rep anyone had the whole game guarding Jaime Jaquez. Next session, he recovers on the baseline to stop a Norm Powell drive. His first shot attempt, he pops out and makes a 3. His effort was everywhere. He did a million little things. He made actual 3-point shots. We'll see when he's healthy enough to actually start games, because he looked pretty good in this one in his 19 minutes, but the Pacers got walloped with him on the floor, but he's back. We'll see if McConnell's back in the next game. If McConnell plays, it'll be just the second time all season that the Pacers have had 5 of their expected top 6 from last season, which is just crazy. Still no Shepherd or Toppin, but getting closer. All right. We'll be back, of course, tomorrow talking more about this Pacers team. I want to keep diving into some of their struggles, figure out what to make of Nesmith's return, how they could build their rotation, key contract deadline coming up, and so much more right here on Locked On Pacers. Thank you guys for tuning in on this weekend. You can find me on social media at Tony R. Reese and this podcast at Locked On Pacers. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. We will see you on Monday.